Hey, everybody. It's episode 89 of Stand Up with Pete Dominick. Today, nature writer Rich Louv will join me, and a guy who supports Trump who came after me on my Facebook page. Yeah, I invited him on the show, too. I'm Pete Dominick. It's time to stand up right now. Hey, family. Thank you very much for joining me here today. And for those of you that take this show with you in the morning or any time of day, out on the trail or on a walk or a jog. You're walking your dog. I'm so happy to be with you. I love it. That's so cool. I feel so honored and privileged that you would want to listen to this discussion that I'm having with people, and I invite you to join this discussion. But a lot of people reach out and tell me that they listen to the show when they go out for walks with their dogs or on their own or even with other people, and that's just the best. Let me know where you're listening and how you're listening and what you like, what you don't like, and sign up for a paid subscription on patreon.com/Pete Dominick. My question for you today is, are you getting enough or any nature? Are you getting outside during the time of pandemia? I went for a little run yesterday in a cold rain, and it was as alive as I've felt in a couple of weeks. It was really great. And I get out as much as I can just in my yard, as much walking the dog and very little else. But how about you? Are you getting out? Are you getting nature? What is your relationship with the natural world, with nature? Do you go for hikes? Do you kayak? Are you a fisherman or a hunter? Do you garden like I do? What is your relationship with nature? How important is it to you? And has it changed at all during this crazy time of COVID-19? Well, that's what today's guest is joining me to talk about, the importance of nature now and even in, quote, normal times. That's Rich Louv coming up. Also, just a quick reminder, I'm doing the show every day now, so subscribe and it'll pop in your podcast feed wherever you subscribe. Also, give a rating. Write a rating. If you subscribe on iTunes and you write out your review, that's huge. They measure that a lot on the podcast. So if you really like what you're doing, what I'm doing, and even what you're doing, if you're doing a podcast, I'll write a review about your podcast as well. I misspoke, but I didn't want to admit that I did. I also have been trying to get more diverse voices on the show, especially when it comes to politics. We're so divided in this country, and I mean, a lot of us have such an unbelievable difficult time even beginning to comprehend why someone would understand or believe what they do. And so from time to time now, I'll try to interview like Trump supporters. I don't know what else to call them, but the people that live in a completely different reality than I do, and maybe you, and I live in a different reality than they do. And so from time to time, I try to understand it and unpack it. And I find these folks on Facebook and Twitter mainly. And so I was tangling with this guy who was replying to me on Facebook. He agreed to come on and record the conversation. And that's coming up after Rich Louv. But here's a quick preview of my conversation with Anthony.
Oh, I just hit you up because I saw you on CNN one time.
Okay.
And I'm a Trump supporter. And I don't know about a Bill Gates conspiracy theory. I just don't like any government. I'm not getting back. I don't want to get vaccinated.
We talked for a little over 30 minutes. Guy's name is Anthony. He's down there in Florida. I've never talked to him before, and I just think that's interesting to reach out to somebody that was being kind of a jerk to you on social media. And, notice how their tone changes. They become more reasonable, and I do my best to keep the conversation going and try to understand where they're coming from and ask them questions about, the logical conclusions of their ideas and their theories, and I hope you like it. I mean, some people might, have a really hard time, get frustrated with Anthony. I did a little bit, but it was good. And I'm going to talk to him again, and it's completely unedited. And that's coming up after my conversation with best-selling author and nature writer Rich Louv. So let's do that first, because he's my invited guest, and he's one of my favorite people in the world and one of my favorite writers. Oh, and we did this on Zoom, and he called in, and I just popped up, and here's how it started because of that. Ladies and gentlemen, Rich Louv.
Out from underneath your desk. Is that what you do with all your interviews?
Hold on. Let me. All right, I got him now, and I'm looking at him, in fact, on Zoom, which is even better. He is a journalist, the author of 10 books, including Last Child in the Woods, The Nature Principle, Vitamin N, and just this past year, Algonquin Books published his latest titled Our Wild Calling, How Connecting with Animals Can Transform Our Lives and Save Theirs. He's also the co-founder of the Children in Nature Network, which is a really important nonprofit doing excellent work connecting kids and keeping them connected to nature. Over the past few years, I'm honored to say we've become friends, and he has become a mentor to me, a very important one, who I value a great deal. I invited him on today to talk about, well, whatever you want, Rich, but specifically and perhaps most relevant, I wanted to discuss your op-ed at REI.com's Co-op Journal, which is great, and it's titled Finding Nature and Each Other, and it's really good. Rich Louv, hey, pal.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm your mentor. You're in danger then, Pete.
What do you what do you think of being someone's mentor? Have you had a lot of mentors in your life? Did you seek them out?
Yeah, I did. This is back before we called them mentors. Really, that's a fairly new, popularized word. It's an old word, but oh yeah, I did. When I was a kid, I had a good family, but there were things that I needed from other people. And I'd go find the surrogate grandparents not that I'm a surrogate grandparent there, Pete, but I'd find the surrogate grandparents in the neighborhood and go over and they'd feed me cookies and loan me their son who was off to college, loan me his pogo books, so yeah, I always looked for those people and in college, and I had some great folks that, that gave me a lot. So.
Well, you are a mentor to me, and you're a really good friend to me, and I always love talking, and I'm psyched to be able to have you on today. I was hoping you would read the beginning where you started in this piece that we're talking about right now, Finding Nature and Each Other. Would you mind reading that to me? Because I love when you read things to me and anybody.
A few years ago, Sarah Walker, a college student in Ontario at the time, shared with me a benefit of nature connection that I had not considered before. She described her special place in nature, her sit spot near her home. And she said, I am sitting on a hill overlooking a wooded forest that defines the landscape of my favorite place in the whole world. I lie with my back against a snowdrift and my snowshoes are strapped to my feet. And she continued, as she gazed up into the cloudless sky, she found herself trying to put a name to what it was that she was feeling. And she said, today, for the first time, I can tell you with one word, the reason I sit outside in this frigid weather, security. As I sit atop this hill, I'm about to finish school in the next couple of months, and I'm not really sure what my next step will be. In spite of this, I know that no matter what life brings my way, I can sit in this spot and watch the sun rise and set below this tree line. Security. Before I read Sarah's piece, I had never particularly connected that word with experiences in the natural world, but there it was, and true.
Yeah, exactly. Security. I love that. I feel like, Rich, in my life, the most difficult and challenging thing, especially after I lost my corporate gig, was uncertainty. And I learned that, and now there's more uncertainty than ever before. It's one day at a time. It seems to have so much more weight and meaning, that silly phrase that we all identify with. That's what I see as needing security from the uncertainty of what is happening. And in this case, you find it in nature, it seems, what she's saying and what you're writing about here.
Yeah. I recently read a book, and I'm sorry, I can't think of his name right now. The name of it is Illumination in the Flatlands, which is a bad title, but it's by a naturalist, biologist who lives, at that time he lived in Florida, out in the outback of Florida. And he raised turkeys from eggs. These were wild turkeys that their nests were going to be destroyed by bulldozers. So the guy that drove the bulldozers saved these nests, some of them, brought this guy the eggs, he started talking to the eggs in the shell, to bond with them, to have them imprint on him. And when they hatched, he continued to do that, and he became a turkey with them. And so for the next many months, he raised these turkeys. He was their mother. He went everywhere with them. And he said he became so impressed with their intelligence. He'd done this with other animals, including crows. He said wild turkeys are smarter than crows, he decided. And he described their intelligence in a really interesting way. He said they come prepackaged, knowing all kinds of things, amazing things, more than we do, really, in terms of their world. But then they, on top of that, they learn for the rest of their life. They spend their lives, going around for food in groups, and they investigate everything. They'll peck at this, look at it. Anything new in their environment, they look at and study. They see a snake they've not seen before. They all gather around it, literally, and study it. And then they move on once they feel they know enough about that snake. The other day, my wife and I went for a walk, and I don't deal well with change, with like moving, things like that. It's just a quirk. And so we went for this walk, and I said, well, Kathy, which way do you want to go? She says, let's go the normal way that you go. And I said, why? She says, because you'll want to see if anything changed. She knows me really. She knows I'm a turkey. She knows that's, and it's true. It's part of being a reporter is just noticing anything that has changed, anything that's out of place. And part of being me is not particularly liking change, so you're particularly keen on it.
And I'll add, part of being a great partner, like your wife, Kathy, is a knowing that that's how you would be thinking. That book, by the way, the author, Joe Hutto, Hutto, it's called Illumination in the Flatwoods, A Season with the Wild Turkey, published a few years ago. Wow, that's a fascinating, really interesting story about the intelligence of nature, in this case, turkeys. I always thought they were the stupidest.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. And there's certain behaviors, there's certain behaviors that remind you of certain politicians, but isn't it? Is it the turkey that drowns itself in the rain or something like that? That's why. Is that a myth? Yeah, I don't think that's true, but his description of their intelligence was so interesting that it's different. And over time, about halfway through the book, he starts using a different pronoun. He starts saying, and so we went out looking for corn today.
Wow. He became a full...
And he's a beautiful writer. And he says this, he says he starts to think like they do. And he perceives the world. And he gets great respect for how they perceive the world and how present they are. Talk about mindfulness. And curious and study things, but also incredibly present and smart in their own parallel way. He began to be embarrassed about his intelligence.
Well, that's hilarious, and that must be so humbling. I have two observations about that. Number one, he was able to embed with a flock of turkeys and monetize it, Rich. Imagine you could become a family member with a group of animals and somehow make a living out of selling this book. Good for him. And number two, better to embed with turkeys than polar bear or grizzlies, as we've seen some other writers or documentarians
yeah,
do.
That doesn't often work out well.
Turkey doesn't decide you're going to become lunch. The other way around, at least with that. So getting back to your REI essay and security, you write in this piece about how the economy is really shaky, but the value that we place on nature and outdoor spaces is surging. Explain how this is obvious that this would kind of happen, but you've always observed and written about who this happens to, why it happens, and when it happens, and it would seem never more are outdoor spaces important than now.
Well, this is anecdotal. No study has been done of this. It's too soon. But the Children Nature Network's our great leader, Sarah Milligan Toffler and the staff, and other programs out there, and are noticing an intense increase in interest in connecting to nature. And the media has picked up on this. There's story after story about, what you can do in your own yard to connect to nature and why that's important. As Sarah says, we used to have to convince people of that. My prior books and Children Nature Network, we had to convince people, but we no longer have to convince people. At least that's the anecdotal evidence, and an incredible amount of coverage of this. And I'm being interviewed a lot on it. The two biggest Canadian talk shows, radio talk shows, also that just interviewed me about the new book about 3 weeks ago, asked me to be back on specifically to talk about this. So they're feeling that there, and that has some real implications. Thank you.
I'm if you're watching the video, I've pulled out all of Rich's books that I have here. I actually have another one that I don't have, and I'm holding them up here because they're all worn down because I'm constantly reading them and rereading them. But you mentioned Our Wild Calling, but also Nature Principle, Last Child in the Woods, which does have a lot of research I'll ask you about. But also, maybe most importantly, is your book Vitamin N right now, because this is a little book that you wrote where it's completely filled with 500 ways to enrich the health and happiness of your family and community. And I would imagine that's a lot of why you're in demand, to just talk to people about the activities, the sources for information, and the kind of advice they need to enjoy the outdoors during this unprecedented experience we're having.
By the way, thanks for holding up all those books. I always say I'm not opposed to self-promotion as long as somebody else does it.
I'm holding them all up at once right now. It's hard to hold 3 books at once in the frame, but this is the screen grab that I'm going to use to promote this. So.
Yeah, and I don't have a copy of Vitamin N with me right now either, but oddly, it's I like that. Oddly, the Vitamin N is having a resurgence.
Oh, I found it. I got it.
Oh, good.
It's right here. It's right next to Salt, Sugar, Fat, and American Earth, Environmental Writing Since Thorough. Anyway, Here's Vitamin N. Yeah, so getting back to our conversation about like these activities and why we need them, let me just get back to that the research. You write a lot about the research in Last Child in the Woods, and you write a little bit about it in this article about how in rehab or residential care settings, animals have been shown to calm and comfort people, about how having a view out your window if you're in recovery can also help. Talk to me a little bit about the research that we do have as to how nature heals.
When I wrote Last Child in the Woods, which introduced the phrase nature deficit disorder, that was in 2005 that was published, and I could only find about 60 studies of both the deficit in experience in nature that was expanding, particularly with kids, but also about the benefits. There was very little research on that. Something so large as how does experience in the natural world affect human development, and which is one of the reasons for writing that book. Today, if you go to the Children Nature Network website, which is childreninnature.org, you'll find that we've built a research library there. And just a few weeks ago, we have abstracts of the major research. And just a few weeks ago, went over the top 1,000 studies. So since Last Child has gone from 60 that I could find to about over 1,000 studies. And they're still coming in about 15 or so a month from somewhere in the world. So that library is still growing. And they point in the same direction, that this is not only nice for people's development and their health, their mental health, their psychological health, their physical health, their spiritual health. That's harder to research, that last one. But it not only is it good for us, it's probably essential because of our biology, who we are as animals.
There's so much there that we can talk about that you've written about in all your books in terms of the research. But right now, people are, I mean, it's kind of hard to, as you said, to we don't have it yet because we're in it. but this pandemic has created a situation where people are having to stay home and be pinned within their own property. And it's different if you live in a city in terms of finding space. I mean, you're really rich if you live in New York and have a balcony. And it's hard to find green space, much less if you live in the suburbs like me and you've got a little yard. I'm really happy with what I got. Or if you're in a rural area, it's different for everybody, but you're doing all you can, I think, to take advantage of it. You're forced to, as you were saying. People are forced to go out. What discoveries are we making, and will we be able to sustain them?
By the way, in addition to vitamin N as a resource, the Children in Nature Network has started another site, a kind of companion site called findingnature.org, and it's specifically about your question. How suggestions from all over the place about how you can connect to nature being closed in your house. If, as you say, you're lucky enough to have a yard, what can you do there? What can you do if you don't have a yard? We can watch raptors on the high rise across from us build nests if we're lucky enough to be able to see that. Birds are pretty much everywhere. The first step is just to pay attention, to look out. And this is where it's so unexpected. As I said, we've had to try to convince people of this for a long time, and now we don't need to do this somehow. People are reporting on their own, on Facebook, on social media. Man, I looked out the window today and I saw a coyote go by my backyard, or I saw the raptor building a nest.
I saw three red fox the other day. Three red foxes. Sound like I was talking about the comedian. And I've only ever seen one. I don't think I'd ever seen two. I certainly hadn't seen three. So I assume maybe they're a family. And one of them was throwing a mouse up and down, toying with it. And the best thing, Rich, as you've written about and experienced many times, is they didn't know I was there. And, they're pretty shy, aren't they? They're pretty scared of human beings. I've never been able to get close to one. They seem tough to get close to. They didn't know I was there, and they kept coming closer to me, one. And I had my binoculars, and I wasn't moving. And then when I finally moved, they ran, all of them quickly. But that maybe 6 minutes, it was a long 6 minutes, was the highlight of my week. I just clung to it. And I wonder if it's because these moments, they're always impactful for people who love nature and are close connection to it. But I just feel like they've become more impactful for those of us that care a lot, and maybe newly impactful for folks who weren't paying attention before. What do you think?
I think that's true, partly because we're kind of psychologically more vulnerable now.
Yes.
D.H. Lawrence, the writer D.H. Lawrence, had a phrase that I loved, I quoted in Last Child in the Woods, which is, he talked about the know-it-all state of mind. And, he lived in Santa Fe then when he was writing. And he said he'd see these people come out and they'd look around at this incredible high desert and mountains and all that. And they kind of, this is just mountains, just pinyon trees. And he said that he called that the know-it-all state of mind. It's a really numbing of how you perceive the world. And I think our current society really breeds that kind of psychological cynicism. And it becomes second nature to us. Been there, done that. Show me something new. Oh, that's new, And but now we're psychologically vulnerable. Everything is different. Everything is strange. We miss people, So we look out the window and we see suddenly that we're surrounded by life, even in a city, in a dense urban neighborhood, you can still see that, not as much. But that's a revelation to a lot of people. And also, you don't know what you got till it's gone. When nature gets taken away from, what do you mean they close the park? You may not have been to the park in 2 years, but you want to know it's there.
Yeah.
And so when it gets taken away, you really value it more. And that has some real implications for the, what I like to call the new nature movement, which is the movement to connect people and nature. So
I hope those implications, this is the question is, I hope these consequences and the actions that we're taking as a result, they sustain. Like, I hope that you have a connection, you develop a connection with the outdoors, with nature during this time. You realize the positive effect that it has on your life, and when you, quote, return to your normal life, your commute, the grind, if you will, that you keep that somehow, somewhere as a resource. And it's got to be the case for a lot of people, but I hope that it will be for a lot of people, for most of us. In your book, Our Wild Calling, How Connecting with Animals Can Transform Our Lives and Save Theirs, you have so many amazing stories and a lot of great research and experts that you talk to about this, of course, as always. But have you noticed, Rich, I don't know, I feel like I'm noticing more people, if you can believe it, posting pictures of their pets and talking about their relationships with their dogs, and now unabashedly their cats as well. Are you noticing that people are having stronger relationships?
Even dog people. Dogs, cats living together. What next?
The bird people stay pretty quiet. They know. They know. There's no...
They don't want to be noticed by the cat.
Yeah.
By the way, I should mention, as you know, my wife and I moved up to the mountains east of San Diego, and I've got some trail cams on we have 1 acre.
Nice.
I'll have to send you the picture. I've gotten a lot of deer and things like that. And one day I bring in the chip and I'm sitting next to my wife and I stick the chip into the computer and I scream, kind of. I scream when an image of a mountain lion pops up on
No way!
In our yard right here, and at night. And
you got to share. You have to share that.
Pardon me?
You have to share that on social media, on Twitter and stuff.
I did.
Oh, you did?
And
I
I'll
missed
send
it.
to you. Yeah. And that gets your attention. And 2 days earlier, my son and I, who was visiting, we found a deer kill in the land, which is really overgrown, bushy, right next to ours. So that lion was, where it's kitchen, I guess.
That's awesome. That also inspires me to get my cameras back out. I don't know if they work as well, but they capture movement. And so when you throw the chip in, you only see the moments they were of surveillance when something moved, something like that. That's how they work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to get
They work at night too.
Yeah, exactly. Really, really cool. I wonder if do the animals often recognize the camera or ever see it? Do they ever recognize it and
get curious about it? I'll send you a couple of these videos too. The deer are really funny. One of the videos, the deer is looking right into the camera. He's just standing there looking right at the camera. And he goes, I've had enough of this. And he turns and runs off. And they do. They often stop and look. I don't know about mountain lions yet.
Just to screw with you, I'm going to come out there and put on a hockey mask and a knife and just walk up to your camera in the middle of the night. And you'll, what the hell?
And then be attacked by a mountain lion.
And then be eaten by a lion immediately for my horrible
And
then you'll share that with me and I'll retweet it and everybody's a winner.
That'd be popular on social media.
Comedian and radio host tries to pull a prank on his friend and mentor and is eaten alive by a mountain lion. That'd be great.
Friend and mentor just shrugs.
Friend and mentor shrugs and laughs while watching said video. All right, you write, our post-pandemic challenge will not only be to preserve the last remaining natural places, but to create more of them, especially in cities, and to make sure all children and adults, not just a few, receive the gift of nature. That's been your goal. And the goal of the nonprofit that you founded, Children in Nature Network. And I hope that you're right about that. I hope that as a result of the pandemic, everybody realizes how valuable these green spaces and natural places are in cities and how valuable the rest of them are to conserve. What has that fight been like, and what do you think this changes?
Well, there's one worry that, we've talked about the great interest now in nature close by, nearby nature. And I think that may work like a slingshot. We're all pulling back to our houses, to our own indoors in sequester. We're pulling back like a slingshot. The programs that connect people to nature, they're pulling back too. Their budgets are being pulled back. So they're going to be in trouble. And we need to figure out how to keep them going long enough for when the slingshot is released, because a lot of energy will be stored up while we're sequestered. That hunger for nature will only grow, I think. And once we're back to so-called normal or something kind of like it, we'll want even more nature. Will those programs be prepared for that? Will they still be in existence to take advantage of that and to give people what they need? That's going to be a challenge. So in terms of wild animals, there's a fear there too. Well, that is good news, what I just described, primarily. I worry about this natural fear of animals that people have. I mean, we've been killing them for, millennia, and our fear of them is quite primal. That mountain lion in my yard, one of the reasons it's neat to have that there, to know that it's there, is because I fear it. So, I've never said that nature's safe for adults or kids or anybody. That's part of its attraction. Yeah. It's not. But people tend to destroy what they don't understand or what they fear. So a lot, as I write about this in our wild calling. I call them the betweens. These are the animals that are moving into cities in record numbers. There are the coyotes, the crows, to an extent bears, raccoons, of course, and lots of other animals are moving into cities and living right next to us. And the coronavirus is associated with bats. It jumped from bats to, I can't ever pronounce that name of that strange animal in Africa. And then people ate that animal and they got sick, or it was around them. Will they do the same thing, have the same response? Will they fear the animals around them when they learn, as they already have many of them, that this virus began by jumping from animal to people? We already have West Nile. We already have ticks that we're afraid of. Yep. I worry that that's going to increase that fear. And there are one of two options what to do about wildlife in our cities at that point. One is to destroy it, exterminate them. That's our first impulse, or many people's first impulse. The other option is to get to know them, to protect them, to have a different kind of wildlife management, a much more sophisticated and supported wildlife management in cities, and to change the nature of cities, which, I've been arguing for that for a long time, that we need more nature in cities so people can connect to it, because most people in the world now live in cities. But if you have a wildlife corridor going through the city, that's where the wildlife will tend to be and move through it. They're not up close and personal as they are when they're in your backyard. So it's in our interest, if we are worried about viruses jumping from one animal to the next, it's good to have them guided through areas that are more natural. It's also extraordinarily important, and this is what everybody from Jane Goodall to E.O. Wilson is saying. Jane Goodall says this virus has emerged because of our mistreatment of animals, the mistreatment of wild animals and how they're collected and eaten, the mistreatment, most of all, of their habitat.
As well as factory farming, right?
Absolutely. And that puts animals up close and personal. And so biodiversity is actually a defense against these viruses. It's actually an antidote to them. So we need vast areas that have a lot of biodiversity in which animals don't come into close contact with people very much. In other words, more like it's been, or it was a long time ago. And by creating those, and I've written about this too in a piece I did for Psychology Today, we have the climate change challenge right now, and we have the biodiversity challenge that we need for pandemics to prevent them. And then we have the extinction crisis. Species are disappearing. If we create these vast new areas, more nature, more natural areas, and we can do this in bits and pieces in cities, but mainly outside of cities, we're hitting all three of those. We're hitting the extinction problem, we're hitting the biodiversity problem, and we're hitting the climate change challenge, because those become sinks for carbon.
Right.
If we have vast forests that we didn't have 2 decades ago, particularly if those are biodiverse forests. So, this is going to force us to think much more seriously about the next pandemic, also about the role of nature in preventing those pandemics and in our response to the climate challenge.
And the role of humans in inviting it all, which is a good place to end with what I have is an observation that I make, I think, every day, Rich. When I lost my job and I became depressed and concerned and anxious, I realized as I went out in nature every single day, of course, because it was the best thing for me, that the birds and the trees and the critters didn't give a shit that I'd lost my job. They had much bigger concerns. When I go out now during this pandemic, I think everybody is realizing that the birds and the insects and the flowers that are blooming have no idea and do not care. And if they did, they'd probably be psyched about it, about this pandemic. So I guess the question is, are you feeling that? And have you seen other people, heard other people feeling that nature is not concerned with this virus that is haunting our everyday? They're not. They're going on as if they always do. All of it is.
Yeah, and I've noticed that in myself. I get calmed down, and it puts it in perspective. Life finds a way, and their lives are going on, and that's true of our dogs and cats also. Their lives go on, and I think what you just described also is part of why we love nature, because it gives us a sense of security, belonging, and knowledge that we're not alone in this universe. I wanted to add one thing, which is I wrote about, right after the fires in Australia, I wrote for my blog, the Psychology Today blog, I wrote about those images of the people rushing into the flames who had just lost their own house.
Yeah.
Rushing into the flames themselves to bring water to koalas and other animals. Very moving images. And I talked to Glenn Albrecht, who's a great eco-philosopher in Australia. And he agreed with something I've been arguing for a long time too, and others have too, which is data is not enough. Studies, science even, is not enough to turn people from knowledge to action. And clearly we're not moving to action fast enough with climate change. We got the studies, we had the studies on the next coronavirus. They weren't really, that didn't turn things into the action that was needed.
Right.
So what is it that turns knowledge, all those studies, into action? And Glenn says that he looks at the successful social movements. He says civil rights to an extent, feminism, gay rights, they were all based not so much on data, though data helped. They were based on relationship. They were based, he says, on love. Those are the movements that get traction. Right now, we're relearning, many of us, how to love nature.
Yeah.
How to love those foxes outside your window. Somehow that's got to be captured, because we're not going to make progress. Environmentalism has been too much about the data. We have to add to that data a degree of emotion and, in fact, love. How to do that? We need to start asking that question.
Well, I've got nothing to add to that. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it, pal.
Thanks, buddy. Say hello to the foxes.
I will. That is Rich Louv, ladies and gentlemen. Let him know you heard him here. Reach out to him on Twitter. He checks it every once in a while, at Rich Louv. Love that guy. Go get all of his books right now if you haven't already. They were all life changers for me. Seriously. Really, really important. I can't tell you what the importance that they've played, the role they've played in my life. Okay, so big thanks to Rich for joining me. And I've been trying to get more diverse voices and reach out to more Trump supporters. It's really hard to get folks to talk to you, but I meet them on social media and I invite them on the show, and sometimes they say yes. And I haven't talked to anybody in a long time on the record, and this guy Anthony was on my Facebook feed about my question with Bill Gates. I'll tell you, set it up all right here at the beginning of the interview, but he agreed to do it, and I appreciate it. And it might be maddening for many of you. It might be enlightening. I don't know. But last time I did something like this, people really liked it. So here now is my conversation with a Trump supporter I met on Facebook named Anthony. Lives in Florida.
Hello.
Anthony, Pete Dominic.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, man. Good. Thank you for taking the call.
Okay.
Can I record it? And then at the end, I just want other people to know, too, that if at the end of the conversation there's anything that you didn't want me to share, I'll let you have the final say. So I'm being respectful. Because, it's
okay.
Didn't ask to go public, and I appreciate that you are. I won't use your last name, but basically, I posted on Facebook, I'm desperate to talk to someone who believes the Bill Gates stuff. Come on, Facebook, you must have a friend who will talk with me about it. And then you weighed in, and a lot of replies, and this is something I do now where I call people that weighed in on social media. First of all, I don't know how I know you or how you jumped in there. How do you know me?
Oh, I just hit you up because I saw you on CNN one time.
Okay.
And I'm a Trump supporter, and I don't know about a Bill Gates conspiracy theory. I just don't like any government. I'm not getting back. I don't want to get vaccinated.
Okay, so
by anything. So I'm not sure if I'm the perfect candidate. Believe me, I'd love to get some exposure and maybe start my own blog one day. I watched your what do you call it? I still got it up right here on one of your tabs. So Stand Up with Pete Dominic. What do you call that?
My podcast?
Yeah, your podcast.
Yeah. I've done a lot of things under that title. I was at SiriusXM for years, and now it's a podcast. So, okay, cool. So I'm happy to give you the exposure then. So in terms of vaccines, where do you start and end on that? You don't get vaccinated? Do you have kids? Do you vaccinate them?
We don't have kids.
Okay.
But, I have gotten the flu vaccine before.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I am what you would consider and what the left would consider a conspiracy theorist,
mm-hmm.
because I believe a lot of things that you guys think I'm crazy to believe.
So let's not use, let's try not to, I know it's hard, but let's try not to use like left and right or labels like that. I just want to hear your thoughts. And so what do you think is the definition of a conspiracy theory, or how do you, or maybe I could throw a few out there and you can tell me what you think of them?
I'll tell you. I'm a birther. I'm a deep stater. You name it. I believe. I'm not necessarily say I believe it. I'm just saying I don't not believe it.
Okay. So let me ask you then, like where this stuff kind of like begins in terms of where do you what is an information source that you trust, that you rely upon, that you feel is, I don't know, generally accurate? Okay,
that's where I'm going to be screwed because, I have a lot of views that I would like to get across.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is if I say something, you guys have the media, you have LA, you have New York, you guys can just jump on somebody.
Who are you guys though?
You, CNN, MSNBC.
What am I? What'd you think?
You're a pundit on CNN.
Yeah, not really, though. I'm on there sometimes. What does that mean, or what does that say?
You're a Trump hater.
Yes, for sure. I hate Donald Trump. But what is that? But what does that mean? Like in terms of, like, how do you categorize? In terms of where I get my information.
I'm saying is, like, if anybody goes against whatever Trump does, so this is what I would have said if we would have just gone freestyle.
Sure.
If anybody just goes against what Trump, like if anybody like right now says, "Oh my God, those coronavirus deaths are totally conflated. They're totally inflated."
Mm-hmm.
Like if I go skydiving, that's it. And I go skydiving. You've seen the meme, I'm sure. If I go skydiving without a parachute, there it is. It's coronavirus death. You know what I mean? Okay, obviously that one's ridiculous, but it's getting a point across. So if somebody gets on TV right now and says that, All you guys are going to do is make fun of him.
Says what?
And huh?
Says what?
Says that the numbers are inflated.
Yeah, but listen, but I appreciate that. That's the whole reason why I called you. Like, I'm not here to make fun of you. I'm literally, you may not believe this, but I hope that you do. I'm trying to understand why you believe what you believe.
And I just wanted to be a heckler. You're a comedian, and I'm a heckler.
Okay, that's fine too.
I was just kidding. I was just kidding.
You know, I don't mind a heckler. I actually want them because I don't have an act. Please say something because I don't know what my next joke is going to be. No, so no, honestly, genuinely, I do have space for that on my podcast and in my brain. There's a certain curiosity about psychology. And I think that you and others, and me too, I should say, you know, we take these things personally a lot, but I don't want to. I actually legitimately want to try to understand why you believe what you believe. You said you're a birther. You know, like we can go down any one of these roads and I can try to understand that. But earlier you said, well, this is where I'm screwed. But that's still my question. Why? What are your sources of information? Because we all have sources of information. Do we agree?
Yeah, but I listen to all sources of information. Mm-hmm. The only person I really believe is from 8 to 10 on Fox News. And so you guys can just bully me after that.
Oh, wait. Okay, so so what you're saying, this is helpful. You're saying that the only ones you really believe or trust or think are credible are Tucker Carlson
or myself.
Oh.
The only one I really believe is myself. But the only people that say what I believe is Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity.
Okay. So what is your?
So I'm out.
No, you're not out. I'm still trying to understand. Like when you say, you know, I guess when you say what you believe, how do you know? You know, where does it start and end? What you believe is it like a faith? Is it like what about journalism or science? Like what journalists or what scientists or you know for the
but I'm older. I mean, I don't know how old you are.
I'm
we look
44.
like we might be near. Okay, yeah, okay. So I thought I was older.
How old are you?
So I'm like 12 years older than you.
Okay.
And, you know, I remember when, like, for example, Chris Wallace on Fox News. Mm-hmm. That's fake news. He's fake news. Okay?
What is that? Hold on. What does that mean? How do you define fake news? That's a new term. What does that even mean?
It's a new term.
Well, it's a new thing. Like, you know, Trump, I think you'd agree. He kind of, you know.
It's just lies. I mean, they're just trying to get political points.
Fake news is
and I
lies.
thought that's what you were, but I guess you've already proven me wrong. So
how have I?
To you on that.
How have I proven you wrong that I'm not fake news, as you say?
No, I don't know. You just said you wanted my opinion because of the way you came up, maybe.
Okay.
You just wanted my opinion.
Yeah, so,
I thought you were going to use me to make fun of me. So
no,
here I am.
That's not my style. So when you let me just ask. I probably should have started by asking about yourself. Like, tell me about your background. Like, what's your work and what's your?
Yeah, I'm just a sales guy.
What do you sell?
I'm just a sales guy in Tampa, Florida. Mm-hmm. Right now, I'm a buyer. So, and if you know anything about purchasing, or if you really do a lot of buying, you end up doing a lot of sales. I'm just a married guy. Got a house in South. Not married, but I live with someone for 8 years.
Okay, not officially married, but you've been with the same person for 8 years.
I'm not gay. Okay, I got a domestic partner. I'm not gay.
Anything wrong with being gay?
No, as a matter of fact, we have a lot of gay friends.
Okay, just trying to find out where again, not judging anything. I'm just trying to find out what you believe. I really am. If you don't like gay people, then that's your opinion. I'm literally, this whole thing is about trying to understand what you believe and why you believe it. So okay, so
I'm Catholic.
Okay.
I'm Christian Catholic, went to boys' school, went to Catholic school, got raised by nuns and then priests. I'm Catholic. I'm a sales guy. I work hard. I play hard. There's a lot of people that drink a lot in South Tampa.
You drink
that's
a lot?
What we do. We go to bars and we drink and we talk shit.
Okay. How many?
It's just a regular town, you know.
The people that you hang out with, you drink with, do they have similar opinions? Are you?
Yes. You
guys are all like hardcore Trump guys?
Supporters. A lot of the bars around here. Yes.
So what was your childhood like?
Obvious.
How would you describe your childhood?
My dad's very successful, so I'm just spoiled.
Oh, okay. Your dad, what did your dad do?
He's a CPA.
Oh, he's an accountant. And so you always had resources, money?
The nicer things. We had a beach house.
Oh, wow.
A boat.
Oh,
stuff like that.
What'd you do on the boat?
Fishing.
All right. I don't know. What kind of boat? What happens on boats? All right. So when
So I was at, and then I'm big time on the water. Where I live, it's got a lot of boat. I don't have a boat yet.
Cool.
But hopefully I'll get one soon. There's a lot of boat ramps around here. So it's, have you seen that sticker? If you ever get to Florida, that says Salt Life.
That's you.
That's us, man.
You're
We're
Southern
Salt
Florida, Miami area, is that what you said?
Tampa.
You're Hispanic, Perez? Oh, I said your last name.
Cuban. I speak Cuban. I speak fluent Spanish.
Do you want me to cut out that where I said your last name?
No, I don't care.
Okay, cool. So you said you're Cuban, of Cuban descent.
Mm-hmm.
Usually Cubans down in Florida seemingly lean conservative. Fair to say?
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. And it comes from being from a socialist country.
Right.
Then I got stories that are just unbelievable about what happens in Cuba. And that's why I believe in what I believe in. We literally would take my nephews down there. I don't have any kids, like I told you.
Mm-hmm.
We literally would take my nephews down there. My brother would, just so they could see what parts of the world, how bad they have it there.
Mm-hmm.
So when we get back to here and they got the condo on the lake and they get to go out on the boat and go wakeboarding and take a jet ski out, they can see that, wow, we really got it made here. That was a life lesson that my brother did for my nephews that I thought was pretty awesome. And believe me, we don't agree on a lot of things.
That's all right. The idea of giving your kids perspective, I can understand, relate to that. So let me ask you about...
Yeah. This is where socialism leads to bring it up to the current. So this is where socialism leads to. You saw what it was like in Cuba, kid. You remember what it was like in Cuba?
Yeah.
And now you come back over here, and we're out in the freaking boat wakeboarding.
So you've always had health insurance?
No. My dad doesn't spoil me like that, and I had to work for everything I've gotten.
No, but you've always been. Yeah, well, you've always been covered. You've always had a health insurance policy.
Until I got older, I don't have health insurance.
You currently don't have health insurance?
No, I do not.
And you're a 56-year-old man.
Yeah.
What's
and
that?
I got heart problems.
What's that about? Why don't you?
Because we just pay cash. Because the Obamacare didn't work out. I was going to try something. I was hoping Obamacare would have worked out. Because as much as I didn't like Obama, I would have gone for whatever the country decides. I have to go with. I mean, what am I supposed to do? So now I was going to start looking into new policies.
Okay, so let's go back to when you say because I'm really interested in your kind of information sources. I wish, what I wish, Anthony, honestly, I wish things didn't have to be so partisan or so political.
So polarized.
I mean, you called me a lib, and it's it's just the end of the conversation. And my point is, let me hear your thoughts on things, on ideas, and where they come from. So what I don't understand is I'm talking to you right now. You've seen me on CNN. I can tell you, if I told you how cable news worked, would you believe me?
Probably not.
You wouldn't believe me.
I don't think so. I mean,
well, how do you think cable news makes money? Because I don't mean to condescend to you by asking you that, because I can tell you how. But you're saying you won't believe me, so I'm asking you how you think they do it.
Well, I'm not saying I won't believe you. I'm just saying that's probably not. I don't know what your answer is. But, I mean, I definitely believe CNN and MSNBC are the right and left arm of the DNC. It's like a freaking infomercial right now. And if you don't realize how partisan they are and how many lies are going on because November's coming up, then you don't have your eyes open. I mean, it's a DNC here. From.
Oh, I lost you. You there, Anthony? Did you die?
Hello?
Hey, you're back.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
Anyway, so I don't know how, you're being pretty good at guiding me through this conversation, and that's fine. I'll go whichever way you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
But those two channels, I watch them more than I watch Fox News.
Okay.
So you want to know my information source? I'll answer that first. I watch MSNBC and CNN more than I watch Fox News because all of it's fake news except for maybe Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson. They're the only people that say it the way that's the truth. And it's pretty obvious to me. And then on top of that, so what's happened lately, and then of course I listen to President Trump when he talks every day.
Yeah.
And the reason why CNN and MSNBC have turned it into a DNC infomercial, because that's essentially what they are, is because he does that every day. And it drives them crazy that he can speak to the American public directly. So they've got to counteract that. And then so they do. And all they do is just attack. I mean, do you realize that you put it on? Doesn't matter if it's 4 a.m, because especially with this COVID environment, my schedule is all screwed up. So, I could wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning when CNN starts, and it takes 4 seconds before they start ragging on Trump.
Yeah, so I hear you. I mean, I understand that. But let me go deeper with you and ask you, when you say, Hannity and Tucker tell it like it is, and CNN and MSNBC, in your words, are part of the DNC and so on. But so there are certain things that I would hope that we would agree that are, measurable like your sales, even probably, and numbers, and we're like, what I don't understand is how things have gotten so conspiratorial. For example, and you probably have a theory about this, but like Hannity is a conspiracy theorist, like you say that you are. And I'll just stick on one specific thing, which is, how do you understand, especially living in Southern Florida, the conspiracy? Central Florida, about the conspiracy about climate change. Like, why do you not trust all of the scientists versus Hannity and Trump?
Okay. On climate change, well, I want to throw in one thing in there before.
Oh, let me throw in one thing, too, before you say something. That I think, because I was in New York on 9/11, and I've looked into pretty much all these conspiracy theories. I've had to, because when I go on the air, I want to try to understand things. I want to, I don't want to get it wrong. And so I really do. I go down some pretty crazy things you might not believe, the sorts of information that I look into. But my understanding, and maybe you disagree with this, but to have these conspiracy theories, I try to follow them down their logical path. What would be the motivation? How would you keep the secret? How come people wouldn't know? And my thing is, and maybe you disagree, is there's no such thing as a conspiracy theory that would require more than a few people. And when there are actual legal, criminal conspiracy theory of fraud or arson or other things, and then they get caught most of the time. The pharmaceutical companies or the Enrons or the energy company, like investigative journalists and prosecutors, they catch them and they get prosecuted if they are part of a conspiracy. So, sorry for talking so long, but that's my understanding of conspiracy theory. Do you disagree? Like, what is your understanding, and what was the caveat you were going to offer before you explain the climate science thing?
Well, no, I can't switch like that, so I'll just got to go with what you're talking about.
Okay.
So the thing is, can you go in the other room or something? Yeah, because I'm getting older, my brain doesn't work.
That's fine. But don't worry about it. Take your time.
Here's the thing. You're the expert. Like I told you right from the beginning, I'll just start Googling Bill Gates and I'll be able to win a conversation about the Bill Gates conspiracy, because I can argue. Okay. But my point, going with what you said, I don't believe all conspiracy theories. I don't believe that 9/11 conspiracy theory, for example, and I don't believe that CNN is total complete fake news. I'll go back to what I was going to say. For example, Smirkonish. There's one other guy that I can't think of right now. They're pretty good on CNN.
Okay.
I'm fair. Okay. Smirkonish is good. And there's somebody else, I can't think of his name right now, but he's obviously an anchor on CNN.
Mm-hmm.
But, so yeah, you might have a point, and unfortunately, and I feel like I'm still got that little chip on my shoulder that it's all about trying to get me on a gotcha moment. And I'm going to take you at face value and say you're not doing that.
No, but, dude. I mean, like, that's the interesting thing about what I'm doing here is this is unedited, unlimited time, and you get to approve at the end.
Okay.
Like, there's no way for me to do that.
All I was going to say was the reason why these conspiracy things are getting by is I can answer it in 2 words. Okay. Deep state. It's just that simple.
What is
Obama
that?
Obama started putting in a bunch of people a long time, whenever Obama started, whatever it was, 2006, I don't remember. But
he was elected in 08.
Okay, so from 08 on, there have been people implanted into our government that are going to keep the elite. And then my main thing is the elitists. I agree with you. I don't think we should go with Republican or Democrat or left or right or lib or conservative. I personally think it's us against the elitists.
So dude, I'm so glad we talked this long, because that's the most fascinating thing. I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I'll play my hand ahead of time so you don't feel like it's a gotcha question. The idea that someone like yourself, who really likes Donald Trump, would be concerned about and even label others elitist is fascinating to someone like me, because Donald Trump, to me, is by far the most accurate definition of an elitist that we could ever possibly agree upon. Always has been his entire life. And his whole family is.
Okay, listen.
Yeah.
Just because he's up in an upper higher tax bracket than you or I or most people doesn't mean that he didn't know how to talk to the farmer that's making $45,000 a year, or the guy like me that's making $50,000 a year in Central Florida.
No, but my question isn't about how he talks to them. Honest to God, Anthony, my question is, who does a person choose to surround themselves with? Why did he hates, in my opinion, you obviously disagree, people like you who don't make as much money. If he didn't, why would he not appoint people like you to his cabinet? Look at who he has appointed to all the cabinet positions. They are all of the most, like, whoever you think are the elitists. How do you and I disagree that Wilbur Ross and Betsy DeVos and almost everybody he's appointed to important agencies, who are often billionaires with a B, if not multimillionaires, if you're not a multimillionaire or like, what is an elitist? Am I an elitist? Is it a money thing? Is it a attitude thing? Is it an education thing? If he's not an elitist, who is? And why hasn't he appointed the people that you talk about?
But what about Ben Carson then?
What's that?
What about Ben Carson? Is Ben Carson an elitist?
I wouldn't say that Ben Carson comes off as an elitist, but no, but you know,
you appointed Ben Carson, didn't
you? That's well, he's a neurosurgeon. He's a very wealthy, successful person. He's not, and he has no. I don't know how this is political. Why would you appoint a neurosurgeon to be the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development? Why? And what? Like, forget the neurosurgeon. Just think about the job and the person. Why would you?
Because I don't know.
He knows absolutely nothing.
What about that Surgeon General? That guy is. I mean, you might want to edit this out, but his Surgeon General right now is obviously gay. The guy's black and he's gay.
What does that have to do with anything, though?
But I'm just saying, Donald Trump gets called homophobe and xenophobe and racist.
But
and all
Anthony,
this
that's not because of the. That's
and a gay Surgeon General.
But here, let's you tell me what you think is homophobic. If I'm friendly to gay people, but I'm also in government and I support policies that prevent them from having freedom, aren't I homophobic? Even though I got a few gay friends, I'm supporting things that destroy their lives. That's why people think Donald Trump is anti-gay, because of the policies that he supports. I don't think that.
No, it's not that's not it. It's because you got to stick to somewhat of a Christian value, which is what this country was founded.
No, let's not go down that route, because then we part ways. This country is freedom from religion, not of religion. Come on, really? Like, you're allowed to be whatever you want to be in America. Isn't that what's great about it? If I don't want to be religious, I don't have to be. I don't have to follow your religious rules, and you don't have to follow my non-religious rules.
The war on Christianity is on.
The war on Christianity? Okay, well, your version of Christianity is clearly not the version I grew up with. And we both grew up in the Catholic Church, but mine's probably different than yours. But let's stick to just
that's fine.
The going back to the climate thing. Like, how is that a partisan thing?
It's not a partisan thing. It's a brain thing. I have a brain.
Well,
listen.
Yeah.
Every millennial thinks they can jump on this thing about recycling, and now they have this purpose in life, and they eat chia seeds and fucking put their hair up in a man bun, and they do this thing with recycling where they
what does that have to do with what? Wait, hold on.
Let me get to my point. And then they separate plastic, and now they got this big purpose in life, and they do all this shit.
Yeah.
And then when you think about it, India and China, they ain't doing shit. So I'm a numbers guy because my dad's a CPA. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there is not enough decimal points that you can go backwards on for what that one guy's doing. But no, he's a millennial. He wants to let everybody know how important this recycling thing is. It don't mean shit if India and China don't start helping us with the
pollution,
with the climate.
Yeah, so I understand your point. That if
they don't start helping us, what's the point?
Well, the point, I'll tell you, and I'm surprised. Like this is, I don't know why this isn't a conservative argument. Donald Trump could be the champion here. India and China are doing a lot more to invest in research and design renewable energy, and we will be buying it from them. Why don't you want to support us building that and having them buy it from us?
I mean, they've been trying to do that renewable energy thing for years. It's such a long-term goal.
But that's not an answer to my question. I mean, you
could do it, but you can't do it now.
Okay, so you're not worried about what the science says about the next decade in terms of climate change. Your point is that if it doesn't matter, your point is a nihilistic point. We're all going to die. You don't care that we're all like that in 10 years. The Earth. No,
I don't trust the government again. That's what it always boils down to with me.
Okay, so
I don't trust the government again to handle it.
But if you don't trust the government, then why do you trust Donald Trump? He is the government. He's the government. He's the leader of the government.
He is the real estate mogul that gave up his career to run the country because it was going into the shit hole.
But that's not the answer to my question. My question is, if you say I don't trust the government, then why do you trust Donald Trump? And he is the government.
That's even been 4 years.
Hmm?
So you're saying Donald Trump is the government? Donald Trump is
He's the leader of the government. Yes, he's appointed. He's in control and in charge and has more power over the government than any other one person. Yes, he is.
And the reason why he got elected was because we don't really believe that he's part of the government. We think he's like us. He's standing up for the people.
Okay, so yeah, that's my biggest question. What? Oh, all right. How come? My wife is telling me I got to go eat, Anthony. My final question to you, man. Honest to God, like this is the one that really roils me about the Trump supporter. I'm a New Yorker. I live in the burbs now, but I lived in New York for 12 years. And I was on The Apprentice, as a matter of fact.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Awesome. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll send you the clip.
We watched every episode.
I'll send you the clip. And here's the thing. Like, just as a judgment of character, I honestly don't know why you think that Donald Trump has ever cared about anybody but himself. What evidence is there that he even cares about his own kids, much less you or the country? What thing has he done? What empathy has he shown? Like, why do you think he cares about you at all? I mean, like, he hates.
I think he cares about the country, and by proxy, he cares about me.
Why do you think why? What has he done or said that makes you think he cares about your interests?
I said he thinks about the country first, and by proxy or indirectly, then he cares about me, which is that guy that everybody talks about in Middle Iowa that everybody forgot about in the Democratic Party that Donald Trump managed to get through to. And that is because he changes policies for people like us that have conservative values, which is how this country was founded.
All right.
On conservative values.
All right. That's part one of our conversation. I'm happy to continue it because I got a billion more questions. If you're up for it, I'll call you again.
Call me anytime.
And do you feel, because I'm still taping, are you comfortable with everything here that you said? Is there anything that you feel railroaded about or you want edited out?
No, that was like a nice little disclaimer, though. No, that's fine.
Okay.
I'm probably going to send everything's good, okay?
All right, I'll be in touch. Thanks a lot.
All right,
bye. All right, well, what did you think of that? You probably are frustrated because I didn't say this or I didn't ask that or I didn't push back on this. You probably would have done it differently, and that's fine. I want to know what you would have asked. I want to know how you would have responded. We kind of, go all over the place to try to stay organized and focused on one or two things, but usually doesn't go that way. But nonetheless, I got a kick out of it. I enjoyed it. I do. I drilling down and asking these questions. There's something about it that It quenches my curiosity to try to understand where these folks are coming from. I don't think they're all the same. I think it's complex. I think they're different. And yeah, if I'm being honest, I do think that maybe some part of me thinks I can convince them to think otherwise. And sometimes I think that I do, just by the very nature of me reaching out and giving them a fair shake so that it debunks their idea of whatever the, kind of mainstream media is once they see me on a lot of that corporate media or hear me there. And then I reach out and I'm a real person and they can talk to me and give me their thoughts. And there's something about it, maybe. No? Am I just being naive? You tell me. I'd love to know what you think about that conversation, and I'd love to know if you'd like to hear more of those conversations. That's it for today's podcast. Thank you very much for listening. Again, appreciate your paid subscription. If you're not already, sign up, patreon.com/Pete Dominick. Give the show a review and a rating, and thank you all very much. Have a good day. Be the change you want to see. Think for yourself, and let me know what you're thinking. Love you. Goodbye.